Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. I'm your host 𝗃𝗏𝗏, and I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. As leaders, we can fall into the habit of people pleasing quite often, particularly if we don't have boundaries in place. But the biggest challenge we face when it comes to team and culture progression is handling challenges and handling conflict within the workplace. Whether it be conflict, whether it be performance, whether it's policy breaches, a lot of leaders find it challenging and confronting to handle these. In particular, young leaders who may not have had exposure previously. They may not have had a mentor to guide them. Even when we muster up the courage to have these conversations, they aren't thought through as well as they could be, and therefore they have very minimal impact. If you're a small business leader, this may relate to some of your client challenges. And as we've shared in earlier episodes, there is a negativity, a fear that's aligned to these conversations. Today, I want to continue to evolve our mindset on this and help you ignite your impact as a leader. I'm going to share with you a very simple yet effective approach to dealing with these challenges, whether it be policy related, performance related, culture related. For those business leaders, again, it might be even client related. This approach is extremely effective. Ultimately, this approach ensures that when it comes to dealing with those conflicts, those performance challenges, the policy breaches, etc., that we actually feel positive about those conversations as opposed to what traditionally has been a negative conversation, something that we just align a negative connotation to. If we can shift our mindset to positively think about these, we'll be more eager to do them and tackle challenging situations early as opposed to letting them ride. A lot of things can happen over a month period, 2-month periods. And if we're not having conversations and intervening early, then these things can become huge issues. So let's start with what I believe to be 3 of the biggest mistakes that leaders make when having one-on-one conversations. The first mistake is showing favoritism. And leaders do this by only having selective conversations. In short, they choose the easy conversations. Secondly, when they do have these one-on-one conversations, the next biggest mistake leaders make is that the leader does all of the talking. You should be letting your team do 90% of the talking and you doing 10% of it. And the biggest mistake that I see leaders make is that they just don't have them at all. One-on-ones need to be a consistent part of your leadership. They shouldn't be left until challenges present themselves. Build relationships and earn the right to give feedback. Lock them in visually, on a calendar, in a whiteboard. Make it visual and, in turn, be accountable. These 3 mistakes, all of these significantly impact culture. They all impact performance and they all impact mental well-being. This promotes a toxic culture and can lead to poor retention and high turnover in the workplace. So how do we turn the tide? Well, the good news is, even if you are currently leading a toxic culture, this mindset and approach to these discussions will absolutely start moving you in the right direction. See, one of the most common problems I see leaders commit here is they go into conversations with team members assuming what the challenges are. And we assume because we go into these conversations almost wanting to confirm the challenges that we've decided are at hand. And this comes from our ego. It's built from, unfortunately, what I'd say is our roles. We think we know what the problem is, so we'll make that decision, we'll assume it. We assume that dependent on their experience levels, their confidence, or their role, that they should know X, Y, Z, for example. When what we need to be doing is to start over and go into each conversation with the intention of being curious, especially if you've not had conversations with these team members before and taken this approach I'm about to share with you into those conversations. We need to start over and go into each conversation with the intention of being curious, asking questions and listening. To be a great leader, you need to be a great listener. It's something that I'm continually trying and striving to be better at. God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. We need to listen more. And when we do this, we can understand something very important and something crucial to paving out the next steps post these conversations. When we listen, when we lead with curiosity, we get to understand if our team member is one of 3 things. Let's call them the 3 U's. Are they unaware, unable, or unwilling? So are they unaware? If they're unaware, awesome. We can revisit the process, the policies, the procedures, or whatever it is aligned to the challenge and ensure we're providing the tools for them to follow the process, policy, and procedure that's aligned. This is where we want our team to be if a challenge arises. Unaware, awesome. Our role as a leader is to make them aware. It's a starting point. If the team member is unable, they may possibly be in the wrong role. Get curious. For example, let's say you've got a back of house role. Might require some lifting and or functioning of equipment. They may not be able to meet the demands of the role physically. Awesome. Let's look at alternatives, as this role may not be the right role for them. Remember, over time, capabilities can change. Therefore, while someone may have been in a role for a certain period of time, it doesn't always mean it's the best suited role for this person. Consistent one-on-ones and curiosity will ensure that these sort of things come up through the relationship building, as opposed to just when an incident or a challenge arises. Are we providing the right environment for our teams to be able to do their role? And if you have a look at this image, we've got newsreaders here that their mouths taped shut. Are they able to do their role? No, they're not being given the right environment to do it. Then finally, this is where we don't want our teams to be sitting, unwilling. We've made them aware. We've made them able. But now we've discovered that they're unwilling. They've been given the tools and the support to carry out the role. Followed by confirming the team's understanding of policies, procedures. Only when we've confirmed those things can we place them in this bracket. And this is often when the team member is at a stage of the business. And this is often when you could say a team member is at a stage where this business potentially just isn't the right one for them. When you can determine where your team sits amongst the 3 U's, you improve the outcome of the conversations and gain understanding of where the opportunities are, not only for your team member, but for yourself. Greater understanding creates greater impact. In my experiences, a small percentage of team members have fallen in the unwilling space. And the key learning there is that with consistent communication, upfront communication, and a curious mindset, you will eliminate lingering challenges and help a team member elevate their performance, or more often than not, if they're heading towards the unwilling stage, they'll make a decision themselves that this potentially isn't the right space, the right business for them. In the odd occasion that this isn't the case, and you're sitting in there with it, with them being unwilling, well, if you've had consistent, documented conversations, you now have what you need to follow the processes within your business with your HR team and go down the right path if needed. Again, it's only a small percentage of team that I've worked with have been in this scenario. But again, they're either making the decision themselves, or you've got the documentation and the history of conversations through consistency to take the next steps. If you'd like to get your hands on my ultimate one-on-one template and start elevating your team culture, reach out with us at 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏𝗏𝗏 on our Instagram page. Follow and shoot us a DM, and we'll more than happily supply this to get it in your hands. So how do you get started? Well, here's 3 tips. Tip 1, schedule one-on-one conversations with all of your direct team members. All of your the people that directly report to you. And then inspire those direct team members to do the same thing down. Tip 2, ensure that your team members do 90% of the talking in these one-on-ones. My ultimate one-on-one template allows for this. And then tip 3, make sure they are visible. What I might mean by this is have it scheduled in your calendar, whether it's Outlook calendar, have it there so you can see it. Have it set up on a calendar out in your team room. Whatever it is, make it visible and be accountable. Ultimately, our role as leaders is to support our teams play their role. To do this, they need to have the right mindset. They need to have the right tools, and they need to have the right support from their leadership teams. If you can lead with a positive approach and this sense of curiosity, you will lead with a focus to gain understanding as opposed to leading with assumption, providing you with nothing but effective communication and efficient output for your leadership, your team, and your business. So remember that greater understanding leads to greater impact.